news!
Obviously, Jessica Castle was here tonight. I think she was here, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I love that fight. I ain't the big names really. I know that Chantal Cameron has that competition that's going on at the moment. Amanda Serrano, I think, wants to become undisputed champion at featherweight, so I think that fight is off. So.
Do you think
Estelle Mosley as well.
Is that one a good one for you, Mosley? Because she's obviously the amateur history.
I think that's a fantastic fight. She's obviously a brilliant fighter herself. She has the IBO belt. I don't really know. I don't really hear too much of that belt, but I want it.
All you can do is laugh at it after a while. How many girls are lining up single file for a Katie Taylor fight? Never enough. And, she's only one person. She can only fight one person at a time, and that may or may not be who you wanted to fight. Sam Jones expressed an interest in seeing Katie fight Chantel Cameron, not realizing that Chantel is all set to unify this fall. At 140 pounds. Chantel's supposed to be fighting Mary McGee for what are the IBF and WBC titles and the coveted Ring Magazine belt this fall. Yeah, I think this is the first time Katie threw a little bit of shade at all these guys. Katie Taylor herself says, I don't think any of the big names can actually fight without mentioning my name. Not wrong, It's gotten to the point to where even Clarissa Shields, not but a few months ago, was mentioning Katie Taylor, and she's all the way up there at 154 and 160 pounds. Fucking ridiculous. It's getting there. Katie Taylor was quoted as saying, when I turned pro 5 years ago, we didn't really know how this was going to go. It's been amazing to see the development of women's boxing over the last few years. I feel like all the big names are calling me out. I don't think any of the big names can actually fight without mentioning my name. That's a great position to be in, though, for sure. Yeah, but it's gotta be annoying having so many people think they earned a fight with you. I want to make this clear that I'm not averse to any of those fights. An Estelle Mosley fight, a Jessica McCaskill fight, an Amanda Serrano fight, a Chantel Cameron fight. I'm not averse to any of them. But I know that regardless of who she picks, someone's going to be upset about it. Not that Chantel Cameron's available, because she isn't, but hypothetically speaking, if Katie were to fight her next, Amanda Serrano's supporters would lambast Katie for it. If she would fight Amanda, well, then Chantel's supporters wouldn't be happy about it. Jessica and Rick want a rematch with Katie. And maybe they'll get it. I don't know. Rick and Jessica were in the United Kingdom this past weekend. They were in Leeds, covering that Warrington versus Lara rematch. Jay would negotiate in terms for a second fight. Rick Ramos was doing a lot of business this weekend. He posted something about getting Jessica a matchroom deal, among other things. But really, your guess is as good as mine as far as who Katie is going to fight later on this year, if she fights later on this year. Maybe she fights against Jessica. Maybe she takes care of Estelle Mosley-Yoka. Initially, we thought that Estelle would make an appearance on her husband's undercard set to go down in a little over a week's time, and no, that's not the case. She won't be fighting on that undercard. Maybe the reason is because she's all set to fight Katie Taylor later on this year. We play this game of musical chairs every single time Katie Taylor gets out there. Literally every single time. It's exactly the way she says it is. None of the big names seem to be able to orchestrate situations and have fights without mentioning her, even when some of those big names campaign at higher weights. It's no wonder that Katie doesn't do a whole lot of media between fights. Yeah, she only speaks to the press when she's got a fight booked. She's already a lot more active than these other girls. She's already more active than these other fighters. She fought 2 times last year in the thick of the pandemic. Against Persson and Gutierrez. And she's already fought 2 times this year against Natasha Jonas and her mandatory challenger, Jennifer Hahn. And now what are they talking about? Getting her out there one more time before this year is out, while planning for what could be a super fight with Amanda Serrano next year, assuming Amanda doesn't screw the pooch. There really isn't a whole lot of ownership from that team. It's mind-boggling how much pressure is placed on Katie Taylor to face Amanda Serrano and how much emphasis isn't placed on Amanda Serrano being the one that walked away. But the past is the past, right? The Taylor people are planning for the future. Future which could include an Amanda Serrano fight if Amanda doesn't price herself out. Her fans seem to think that Eddie Hearn's going to give her 7 figures. 7 figures as in $1 million or a little over $1 million. Eddie Hearn said that. No, he didn't. He said a lot of things, but he didn't say that, not verbatim. He said that the profile of the fight has increased as well as the profile of Amanda Serrano, and she will be rewarded for that, but I didn't hear Eddie say he's going to give her $1 million. Yeah, I didn't actually hear him say he's going to give her 7 figures. But that's what Amanda's supporters seem to think. This goes back to what I told you before. I think Eddie Hearn would be willing to offer Amanda Serrano a little bit more money now than what was on the table for her before, because the crowds are back now.
Katie Taylor just fought in front of 20,000 people.
The situation with the pandemic is a lot more stable now than it was this time last year. So there's more money in the pot, more money on the table. But if the Serrano people are approaching that fight with the idea that they're going to get 7 figures, what, like $1 million?
Hey, that's what her fans seem to think.
I don't know. Out of all the potential opponent options Katie Taylor has on the table, Amanda Serrano and her team are the only ones that come with all these demands attached.
Eddie did say they're open to the fight, though.
But he always says that. Literally. After every Katie Taylor fight, he says he's open to that fight.
Because they were never averse to it.
They are the ones that tried to make it. Here they are in 2021 talking about trying to make it again. So I don't know where that puts this fight. I don't know what that means. I don't know how much money Amanda is actually looking to make from this thing and whether or not it's a number that makes sense to Eddie Hearn. That's why I'm not going to make any proclamations or bold statements.
You can't rule it out.
Because it is still possible, but it's not a done deal yet. It's not a done deal either.
Do you think it could happen in December?
I don't know. I mean, Amanda's still talking about unifying the featherweight division, and as far as Eddie Hearn, he's talking about Katie satisfying a mandatory.
So maybe it'll be Katie's amateur rival, Estelle Mosley.
Or Jessica McCaskill. I really don't know. Though I'm not getting the sense that they do the Serrano fight this year, before this year is out.
Eddie said they'd try to do it next year.
We'll see what happens next year. Either way, the same applies. None of the big names that are around these weights can have a fight without mentioning Katie Taylor. That much is established. In other news, the situation with Oscar Valdez, Fentermine, the WBC, WADA, what have you, that hasn't died down, that hasn't gone away. Victor Conte tweeted, boxing needs to understand the ruling on Fentermine. Does it mean Oscar Valdez's opponent can now use Fentermine to cut weight and taper off just before the fight? WBC should provide clarification. Does the WBC now allow use of stimulants to cut weight? WADA prohibits them. Rick Glacier added, Victor, the problem is WADA prohibits it, but WADA allows it. ABC goes by WADA rules. That's the problem. Also believe the WBC partly made their decision based on the Boxing Commission's ruling, the Pascua Yaqui tribe, which was based on WADA's rules. Clearly, part of the problem is the rule isn't consistent.
Nobody is in boxing.
You know what I think? I think that even if the Pascua Yaqui tribe allowed the fight to go through, but the WBC would have stripped Oscar Valdez, that would have quelled some of the outrage, as it were.
If the WBC would have punished Oscar.
But they didn't. It seems like the WBC provided a level of understanding and a level of leniency to Oscar that they don't necessarily afford everyone else. Victor Conte added, I tell all snack fighters to use this program and often do product searches for them. WADA offers this service for free. You simply submit the supplement information. In a day or two, you get a report back. I'm willing to bet herbal tea does not come back as Fentermine.
This isn't going away.
It's because the WBC have set a very dangerous precedent moving forward. Victor Conte stated, in my opinion, the excuse given by Oscar Valdez's lawyer, Pat English, that herbal tea caused a positive Fentermine test is a complete joke. I hereby challenge Mr. English to present a single shred of evidence that this is possible. Seems a lawyer for hire is pushing the fabrication. Boxers should ask Pat English and Bob Arum for the science to support the quote-unquote herbal tea lie that was presented. Fentermine has never been found in tea, a straight-up lie to the public. Former Unified Junior Middleweight Champion Julian J. Rock Williams asked, I'm confused now. Can I use Fentermine and still fight, or only Valdez? Serious question, to which Victor Conte replied, you should be confused, Julian. The WBC follows WADA rules for years, and then suddenly, for what appears to be financial gain, throw WADA under the bus. In my opinion, this WBC, Pat English, and Bob Arum-led fiasco needs to be fully exposed for what it is. Corruption. I think this needs to be said. The Pascua Yaqui Tribal Athletic Commission allowing this contest to go through isn't as controversial as the stuff with the WBC because we know that the commission observes the WADA rules, the WADA code, the WADA protocols, and based on those protocols, Oscar Valdez didn't actually break a rule. So the fight going through isn't...
Yeah, that's not the problem.
The problem is, under normal circumstances, the WBC adhered to WADA's rules, WADA's code, VADA's protocols, and based on those protocols, Oscar Valdez did test positive for a banned substance. So the natural assumption would be that WBC would penalize him for it in some way, and they're
not
completely disregarding VADA.
all of a sudden.
The Pasquayaki Tribal Athletic Commission allowing the fight to go through really isn't the problem. The problem is that WBC, by all rights, should have stripped Oscar of the WBC title. And if that were the story, if that were the case, I think that would have helped to quell some of the outrage.
I think people wouldn't be as mad about it.
Because you have to remember, the ABC Commission that actually has teeth and actually seems to police these alphabet organizations, they're in agreement with the Pasquayaki Tribal Athletic Commission. They support their decision to let the contest go on because they,
Like the commission.
they go by the WADA code, not the VADA code. They go by the WADA protocols, the same as the commission does.
You can actually reconcile them allowing the contest to go through.
You can correlate it, and you can quantify it. But WBC, that's something else entirely. Up until this point, you've worked in tandem with VADA, adhered to the VADA code, and VADA quite clearly states, this guy's got a banned substance in his system. What are you going to do about it? Because VADA themselves don't provide adjudication.
Absolutely nothing.
You know, maybe it's exactly the way that Rick Glacier says it is. Maybe the reason that the WBC decided not to penalize Oscar Valdez, it's because the Pasquayaki Tribal Athletic Commission is observing WADA's rules, and so is the Alphabet Commission. The Alphabet Commission's not going to investigate the WBC because they observe the WADA rules as well.
It's a domino effect.
Real questions that need to be asked is, why does there seem to be a discrepancy between how WADA classifies phentermine and how VADA classifies phentermine? Why does WADA allow phentermine to be used out of competition, and why does VADA ban the substance overall?
Sets a dangerous precedence moving forward.
Based on the adjudication in this situation, can boxers now use phentermine and other substances like it based on how WADA classifies the substance, that it's only a banned substance out of competition? Does that
now apply to everybody?
Should a boxer test positive for phentermine beyond this situation with Oscar? Can he expect the same understanding and the same leniency that Oscar Valdez just got from the WBC?
That's a legitimate question.
And since the WBC no longer appears to be adhering to VADA's code and VADA's protocols, they're adhering to WADA's, should we expect the WBC to run their clean boxing program in tandem with what WADA says as opposed to what VADA says? Because there does appear to be dissension there.
They basically cut VADA's balls off.
In a manner of speaking, they did. I mean, the way they handled the situation, what do you need VADA for? You're adhering to what WADA says. Is this the end of the clean boxing program? The clean boxing program, as we know it, a program that since its inception has been co-run by VADA and the WBC. VADA with their protocols and banned substances list, and the WBC, which was intended to act as the teeth of the clean boxing program, able to strip fighters of their titles should they test positive for a banned substance, as banned substances are defined by VADA. Is this the beginning of the end for that program? I reiterate, people wouldn't still be complaining about this had Oscar been stripped of his title. The Pasquayaki Athletic Commission allowing the fight to go on is one thing, and the WBC not penalizing Oscar, that's another.
That's inconsistent.
And that's what the problem is. Finally, Caleb Plant, the always altruistic Caleb Plant, had this to say. He says, I'm not doing this for money, or I would have jumped on a 5-week camp.
You're talking about when they approached him last year?
That's exactly what he's talking about, like he hasn't been approached 3 times since then. Not doing this for the money, Plant told a group of reporters prior to the Manny Pacquiao Yordenis Ugas pay-per-view show Saturday night at T-Mobile Arena. If I were doing this for the money, then I would have jumped on a 5-week camp with 4 weeks to train like Callum Smith did. I'm not in this for the money. I really want my name in those history books. That's why, I've worked so hard, and like I said, I sacrificed a lot. I want to be in those history books, and that's why I'm doing this.
Bullshit.
He doesn't want to be in the history books. If he did, he would have been the one to unify this division.
You guys sat on your hands and let Canelo Alvarez do all the legwork.
Caleb Plant went on to say, like I said, I thought we had a deal for September 18th. I thought it was going through, and it came back, and it blew up. But, here we are. So I wasn't too discouraged because, nothing ever happens for me just how I want it to, or for anybody for that matter, There's always going to be bumps ahead, and bumps in the road. So I knew it would happen no matter what. I just didn't know if it would come back around this early. But it did, and I'm happy it did.
It did?
It came back around? No. Canelo Alvarez came back around because Canelo Alvarez is focused on becoming this division's undisputed champion. That is his mission more than it's your mission, because he, unlike you, has consolidated 3 of the 4 major titles. Yours is the last puzzle piece. And when this fight fell apart, it wasn't you that did what you had to do to see the fight happen. It was him.
He says he's not doing this for the money.
My fucking ass, he's not doing this for the money. If he's so fucking altruistic, why doesn't he take his entire purse and donate it to a charity? You know, since he's the prize fighter that doesn't fight for prize.
He's really acting like he's the reason this fight is happening.
Seriously, he is. He's acting like he's the one that stepped to Canelo Alvarez 4 times since late last year, when no, it's the other way around. Canelo Alvarez has been trying to pin you down since late last year, and you always wiggled out of it until...
You know, he's the one that's cleaned up this division.
Not you, even though you were a full champion at this weight before he was. Caleb Plant won the IBF title in early 2019.
In January of 2019.
Canelo Alvarez didn't actually pick up a full-fledged world title at this weight till late last year, in December, against Callum Smith. Now, you tell me why it is that Canelo Alvarez beat you to the punch.
How'd he end up unifying before you did?
If you were already a full-fledged champion at this weight before he was, did you even try to get Callum Smith or Billy Joe Saunders in the ring?
No, Caleb said he wanted to fight his stablemate.
The WBC champion at that time, David Benavidez. But when you saw that you weren't having any luck there were 2 other champions at this weight. Did you go to any of them? Near as I can tell, the only one crossing political boundary lines to clean up this division and get the job done is Canelo Alvarez.
And he doesn't have to.
Doesn't actually have to shoot for undisputed. He doesn't have to unify this entire division. He's doing what he's doing because he wants to. He wants to make history. Not you.
You wanted to do was sit on your hands and let him do all the legwork.
Now that all the legwork is done and the undisputed title fight is underway, what, you want the credit?
The fucking nerve of this guy.
It's really something how Caleb Plant has been carrying on as of late in reference to Canelo Alvarez and in reference to this fight. You can't shut the guy up. It's almost like he's got pre-fight jitters or something, rightfully so.
St. Mike Lee you're dealing with.
Oh, you say Canelo looks beatable. Okay, well, let's see how beatable he looks once you're in the ring with him.
It's a novel idea.